I know it's a very basic way. I mean, we've been talking about good and evil since the time of the men were able and women were able to, write and philosophize. But I don't know. It just seems to me lately like it feels to me like evil and good is actually a force that we're struggling with.
Yeah.
And I know like some people would say that's kind of, a primitive way of thinking, but I do kind of feel like it actually is a very real, tangible thing. And that...
What makes you think this? Like, is your personal feelings, is it based on, like, your intuition? Like, what is it?
It's intuition. It's like a vibe. It's just like maybe because I'm showing up at church and kind of like searching a little bit myself, and I am very much about good people doing good things, and I've just been kind of conscious of it. But then there's always like this rise of evil that like comes up, like all of a sudden white supremacists or these riots or these horrible things against people in different parts of the world, and it seems like it's this ongoing struggle.
Like almost like why hasn't it caught up yet to the way you look at the world, the way a lot of people look at the world?
Yeah.
A lot of people look at the world like if Tom Papa, if you were in charge and if you had to push all the buttons that would sort of decide how people behaved, if that was a possible thing. Of course, one of the first things you do is eliminate all the violence.
Right.
And all the horrors of the world.
Yeah.
And
then also, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you also see that all those horrors are done by these men and stuff who, when you sit and like kind of analyze them, and they've been the victims of a lot of things, and there's like genetic victimization and social, and it's like, so where's that coming from? Why are this kid that could have been okay ends up in this life of crime and ends up murdering somebody, and where's that coming from? Is this just a genetic mutation, or is there like a force of good and evil?
I think we're still dealing with the echoes of the past. That's what I really firmly believe. And I think also the way maybe you and I are having this conversation, the way a lot of people are having these conversations today, just like us, like basically the same sort of rational people sitting around with no agenda going, why does this exist? Why is all this horrors of life? Why is all this injustice? Why is that there?
Yeah.
I think this is, we haven't been here that long. I just really think that's real. And I think we need to absorb that much better. Our time spent in modern civilization versus the time of life on Earth is a joke. The time on life on Earth in relationship to the time of the universe is a joke.
Right.
The numbers are insane.
Yeah.
We can't understand that we literally were monkeys just a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Like the bit that I have in my act about the United States being founded in 1776, that's 3 people ago.
Yeah,
people
right.
live to be 100. That's 3 people ago.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah, that's nothing.
So 3 people ago, people were these creatures that had to make fire, right? To stay warm. They didn't have electricity. They didn't have engines.
Yeah.
They made boats out of trees, and they used the wind to drift across the ocean while staring at the stars with a gigantic harp-looking thing, right? What was that thing? A sextant?
Yeah.
Isn't that thing that they use?
Yeah,
They have to like look at the stars and figure out where the other ones are. So you had to trust that these motherfuckers had mapped out the universe well, so that you could make it across the ocean.
Yeah.
And a lot of people died of scurvy along the way. Like, fuck, man, that is crazy.
And not long ago.
Dude, that's so goddamned recent.
Yeah.
When I was listening to Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, one of the best podcasts ever. I don't know if you ever listened to it. Oh, it's so good. But he has this thing on the Mongols called the Wrath of the Khans. And what freaked me out is not just how crazy that world was back then and what unbelievable damage and destruction the Mongols created and how they just conquered empires, just moved across the world, killed millions and millions of people. But what was really fucked up was, I think, Google this to make sure I'm not wrong, I think that was only like 1200 BC. I don't think that was that long ago.
Right. Yeah.
That's really recent, man. Yeah. That's really recent. I think Genghis Khan died in the 1200s, if I remember correctly.
1200 AD, not BC.
AD. Oh, did I say BC?
Yeah, yeah.
I actually meant AD.
Yeah,
I said BC, but I really did mean AD.
Which makes it more recent.
Yeah.
It's like 800 years ago.
I'm a little stoned, folks.
Yeah.
Sorry. I
But it made it a lot more recent.
But that 1200, well, 1200
So-
BC would still be pretty fucking recent. But 1200 AD, which is what I meant to say, that
Right.
is so recent.
Yeah.
That's just,
Not that long ago.
yeah, that's
People were starting to make wine and
818
sourdough.
years ago, right?
Yeah.
Ish.
Other way.
792.
792.
792 years ago, a guy killed 50 million people during his lifetime with his actions.
Right.
They changed the carbon footprint of the world. I mean, they
So it's
destroyed. I mean, they
No, wait.
So then you're saying it's
Was
more.
I right?
You were right. Yeah,
I was right.
I'm
So you're saying it's
Either
more
way.
surprising that we're doing this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and that we have electric cars and
Yeah.
medicine and all this other kind of, like, it's more surprising that we're doing that than it is that people are running around killing
Right.
each other.
Well, Nazi Germany, dude, that was 1940s.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's maybe crazier than anything. You know, and Carlin has some great stuff on that too in the history of World War I and World War II.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're watching a documentary on that and you're watching those people move around, especially that one that you showed me, Jamie, that's been digitally remastered.
When you see it in color.
Is it Ken Burns that did that?
Yeah, I think so.
They digitally remastered some footage from World War I, and you get to watch these people move around like in real time. You realize like, oh, these are people.
They're just
like
people.
you
I
and
know.
me. And this is like 100 years ago. 100 years ago, we're involved in this crazy ass war, and then a few years later, involved in another crazy ass war.
Yeah. So why can't we figure it out?
Dude, I'm
Because
telling
evil
you,
is present.
I don't know. I think it used to be the only way that people got by. I think
Killing each other and-
I think from going from small groups of people, which like in these small groups of people, they would have interpersonal conflicts. They would have fights with members in the tribe, but they would sort it out, and there would probably be some sort of rule that they would all try to live by. But then they would get invaded by people that didn't have anything and were looking for your stuff. And they came over the top of the hill and they killed and they raped and they stole women, and they just did that for a long ass time, man. They did that for a long ass time.
Right.
This was the history of the steps, like that Dan Carlin maps out in this Wrath of the Khan thing, makes you
Right.
go, Jesus Christ, imagine being born then.
Right.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Just imagine how crazy that man, being a baby and seeing arrows flying around. And
People cut
were,
open.
Dude, people were lighting people on fire and launching them onto roofs with catapults.
Right.
This is the footage from World War I. So look how they digitally remastered it. And
Yeah.
Peter Jackson's doing
Peter
it for
Jackson.
a movie, I believe, or a documentary.
That's the craziest thing. When you look at history and you think that, well, that was then, it's like, no, they're just us. Just happen to be, they're really no different than you and me.
Dude, we haven't been here this long. We haven't been here this long. This is the thing. Like people that look like this, that are wearing like uniforms and that are, have like decent stuff, nice wheels to their wagons, all that kind of shit. That's real recent, man.
No, I know.
It's recent as fuck. And there's been a bunch of different ways that people have done it. But
But-
even if
but-
you
but
go
isn't
back to
the
like the
act-
Egyptians.
But isn't the act of like, okay, so we know like that guy who lit his house on fire.
Yeah.
We know that is just instinctually, we know and have known during even all this history, we've known that is evil. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
It's insanely selfish.
it's not like we went from having to like eat each other and now we're trying to get our act together. You
Right.
know what I mean? We all know that is such a evil thing.
It is.
I think it exists. I think we have to fight it.
Well, it is evil, but it's ego that's causing that, right? That guy didn't want to go to jail. He didn't want to shoot himself. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to kill himself, and he didn't want to go to jail. So he decided he was going to kill a bunch of people to make up a story. He had a plot, and his plot was to save himself.
Right.
And that's when people get trapped in a situation where they're allowed to make decisions, and they're allowed to, if not allowed to, but if they choose to make decisions, and those decisions are horrific, and then they have to somehow or another justify those decisions because they never look at their own behavior. They always judge other people. I mean, this is a pattern that people fall into,
Yeah.
where they're always looking for other people to always be wrong,
Right.
and they never grow. And so, like a guy like that, if he was so psychotic that he could kill somebody, and then he has this decision to make, and this decision is to kill the wife and the kids too. Like he's just like always got to be right. You know what I'm saying? Like he's trying to cover his tracks. He's trying to lie always. Like this is the type of person that could do something like that.
Yeah.
This is a horrific pattern of thought, and it might have been triggered by the murder itself.
So it's just a chemical flip in his brain that says, now I can kill people? Like, he hasn't done it his whole life, and he's just going to the Subway and getting a sandwich with all the stuff on it, and just like watching the Monday Night Football, and then the next week he's like, something flips in his brain, is like, no, now I can kill
I don't think it's
all the people that I know and love?
I think in a fit of rage, he does something horrific. And then I think he's one of those people that tries to justify his actions.
So it just
he tries to figure out a way where he can justify it. That they're going to be in hell anyway because the guy's dead. You know, they'd probably
I don't think he's thinking that
suffering.
deep. He can't be thinking that deep.
He could.
You think?
People are crazy, man. They come up with justifications.
Yeah, but we came from these, like we said before, this is an Italian dude like us. He's like,
right, but he could have also, we don't know if he's medicated, do we?
No, that's a
big
your
one.
brain chemistry.
We don't know what he was doing. You know, I mean, he could have been on something which, makes people do horrific things.
Do you believe in karma?
I think for sure that when you put energy out there, it affects things around you in terms of the way people interact with you, and that in turn affects the way they will interact with other people as well. And I think there's a certain amount.
There's an energy you put out.
You could call it that, but that makes it sound like you got a crystal in your pocket, right?
Not really. Energy is real.
It's like
energy is a real thing. There's a real right. If I was a murderer and came and sat in here, there'd be a different vibe than what you're feeling from me.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
A chronic masturbator.
Well, it's also people that are off and then struggling with the fact that they've done something awful, right? There's like an energy to that.
Yeah.
It's like a constantly being on edge energy.
Yeah. You ever read Crime and Punishment?
That's Dostoevsky?
Yeah.
I never read that.
Oh, you should read it.
No.
It's so... He kills someone and he's carrying the
guilt.
Greatest description of the guilt. Just carrying that thing. Ooh. Now that guy's going to emit an energy. But you don't think there's karma just for like you do something bad and then something bad will happen to you?
I genuinely believe, and this is no crystals in my pocket, I genuinely believe that if you do something that you know to be awful, that has an equal effect coming back at you. Like whatever bad that you've put out in terms of like doing something evil to a person, the way you feel personally, like about yourself, you will take an equal blow. I really believe that.
And where's that blow come from?
I think it comes from your own introspective thinking. I think
so. You're doing it to
and
yourself.
Maybe even worse. You know, you might even feel worse in that person. Like you could say something rude to a person just because you're tired, and then you realize you said something rude, and you're like, "Fuck."
Right.
Oh, why did I do that? I didn't mean. And then they could be like, "Tom Papa's a dick." Like,
right.
No, I'm not really not. I'm so tired. You know, and you just asked me something stupid. I'm sorry.
Right.
But it's like it's hard to turn that around.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So you might hate yourself more than they even get mad at you.
So karma's really you dealing with the energy. It's not the universe saying now something bad's going to happen to you. You're kind of creating it with your own actions and your own stuff.
I think it's real dangerous when we pretend that we have any sort of real understanding of the patterns of all the events that take place in the world. So when you start to say like something happened to someone because of karma, that's okay. The problem with saying that is, what about babies? What about babies with leukemia? Were they bad babies? Like,
right.
What happened? Why did they get cancer? Why did they die young?
Right.
Why did they die in car accidents?
Well, they didn't
That doesn't make any sense. They've never done anything bad. They're babies.
But you could say that, bad shit happens to us all. But can you create more bad shit by your bad actions?
It's entirely possible too, and it's also entirely possible that you're creating more bad shit by feeling bad about yourself because you've done bad shit. So you create more of this negative energy that you carry around with you. I think that's entirely possible too. But I think that we also have this weird need to define things, you know? And I think that we're looking to this thing that we're calling karma, and we're saying that this is like this definite correlation between action and reaction and between the good you put out there and the good that comes back. And my take is that I think there's definitely something going on, but I don't think we should define it yet, because I don't think we really know. And I think as soon as we box it up and say it's this thing and this is the absolute reaction that the world has, when you put good out there, good comes back. Good people die all the time, folks. Yeah. Good people die.
I think there is an energy.
Yeah.
And we know it from the work that we do.
I think it's both.
When you
things.
stand on stage, there's an energy in that room, that transference between you and the people that are out there, and you're playing with it, and it's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a very real thing.
It's like hypnosis, right?
Yeah, it is. And then they can reverse hypnotize you. They can bring this other energy the other way. So that there is this energy of all of us out there and running around, it's not that far to think then there couldn't be good energy and there's bad energy and is that ultimately good and evil? Maybe it is all generated from human beings. Maybe if you educated everyone and they could all be kind and try and come at it that way, we could actually feel that there was more good, but that's just more good coming from people. I don't know.
Well, if you want to get really spacey with this, really, really spacey.
It's the holidays.
You go, okay, well, what exactly are people doing? That's what you do. You go, what are people doing? Mm-hmm. What are they doing?
Like what's our purpose to being here?
Look at us from an outside perspective. Like pretend you're not a person.
Right.
And you're looking at all the people like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
They're moving really fast. They're spending most of their time doing things they don't want to do, and they're buying stuff.
Bustling around.
And so because they're throwing all this money at stuff, the stuff keeps getting better. So every year the stuff keeps getting more complex and more capable and more high tech and more space age. This is bananas, man. I got to watch. I can call people like fucking Dick Tracy, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that as people keep going on and on and on and on with this stuff, this is... we need some sort of energy behind this innovation. And a lot of the energy is conflict, conflict and resolution, conflict and resolution, conflict and victory, victory and defeat. And defeat makes you work harder. And there's all these like interacting forces that are constantly moving together.
I'm with you.
And that a lot of it is expressed. The success of this little game is expressed in material possessions. The success in this game is expressed in Hamptons mansions and private jets and Bentleys and bam, I'm winning this fucking crazy game of stuff. And there's a lot of value in winning the crazy game of stuff. So we let these people acquire all this stuff, and you got all these diamonds and fucking fireworks.
I got a jet ski.
Yeah, but this is forcing more stuff to be made better and more innovation, which will eventually. This is where it gets spaciest of all.
I'm waiting for this part.
This is going to be what people become. People are going to become some sort of symbiotic organism with something that's tied into electronics. Mm-hmm. And that it's happening now.
Right.
It's happening slowly, and we're making it with stuff. And as we keep making stuff, it's eventually going to get to a part. The thing you would like to do more than anything is have it enhance your experience on Earth.
Right.
Right? I want to be able to take pictures. Yes. I want to be able to email people. Yes.
Yeah.
But I also want it to make my experience on Earth better. Mm-hmm. Well, then we're going to have to integrate with your circuitry, Tom Papa.
And then live forever.
Maybe.
Maybe that's what the organisms are trying to do. They're trying to become this thing that...
Get rid of the monkey that wants to start the wars all the time. Mm-hmm. Right?
This enlightenment.
Purge that.
Right.
Purge that out of our goofy-ass system.
Beat evil.
What if only that would be a great science fiction movie. What if this is the future? And they probably already made it. But if only some people went on board with the new enlightenment that you get from these like headsets. Like remember the dude from Star Trek, the blind guy?
Yeah.
Which like from Sesame Street? Remember? He used to be on Sesame Street, right?
Yeah, he was the...
LeVar Burton?
Reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow.
LeVar Burton?
LeVar Burton,
yeah. If we all had those things on.
There was only like 10 of them.
But if like most people bought into it, and those things completely cure you of any evil.
Yeah, and just moving along. I think that I don't know. I mean, maybe there is no purpose to us being here.
There it is. That's an air filter, son. So you got that shit from Pep Boys. That's an air filter. That's like a cool air filter on the top of a muscle car, isn't it?